Stitch Cutie, welcome to the video tutorial for your fourth box that you'll receive for your Gnome block of the month. Now for the fourth block, we're going to make blocks 3, blocks 9, and blocks 10. So we get to make the cute little girl wearing her little coral colored outfit with her purse and her ladybug. We're going to make one tree that has 3 little hearts in it, and then we're going to make one tree that doesn't have any adornment in it, which is this tree right here shown in the picture. So let's talk about everything that you need to have ready to get started with the embroidery portion of your project. So you have your pattern in the mail, and the first thing you're going to do is look at the cutting instructions. So we're going to cut 1 at 10 by 14 and 2 at 6 by 14. So I'm going to do that in just a minute. So I'm going to set this aside. What I like to have set up for my workspace, of course, I have all my prefused laser cut applique pieces. I've peeled the white backing off of them, so all my pieces are ready to use, and I keep them in a nice little pile. If you have a little bowl on hand, it's nice to keep them in there, especially when you're working with the little pieces. You have your fabric, which as I mentioned, we're going to cut in just a second. So what I have set up, I have my cutting mat. On top of that, I have my Steady Betty. This is the 12 by 18 or 12 by 16, the one on our website, the Steady Betty. It's a great size for working with your embroidery projects. I of course have a ruler handy. I have a rotary cutter, and then my favorite pair of Karen K. Buckley scissors. This is the large size. I typically use the medium size when I'm working with the embroidery, but they seem to have walked away, so I have my large ones with me. Now let's talk about the beautiful thread colors that we're going to use this month. You can kind of see them off to the side. We have white 1001, which is already loaded on my machine. So you're going to have your white thread ready to go to start this project. Then we have pink, which is 1307. Then we have the green 1176. This is the same green we're going to use on the trees throughout the process. Well, sometimes we use 1177, but on the dark trees, it's that one. And then we have 1130, which is the brown tree trunks. Then we have the peach, which is 1019. And what's really fun about this thread color, let me just do a little show ya. This is going to be what we use on this coral color. It gives it a really fun accent. I liked it better than doing the pink, and it just really looks so cute. The fabric that's in your kit this month, this little, it's kind of like a coral color. It's called Lipstick from Riley Blake, and I just love that it's called Lipstick. That's really fun. Then we have black, which is 1005. We have our light aqua, or light teal you can call it, 1045. Our silver gray, 1218 for her cute little braids. And then a project would not be complete every month without our butterfly gold, 0567. Y'all, look how much of this thread I've been using on all, not just on this project, don't worry, on all of our projects. I love that color. So the first thing we need to do is prep our fabric. So I'm going to set my applique pieces aside. And what I'm going to do first is iron my fabric. So I'm working obviously within the space of the camera. You can, when you're ironing this, you may want to go to your real ironing surface. But I'm just going to lightly starch it. And to me, with a project, you want to stay consistent with how much starch you use. So on something like this, I don't go all the way where it's like wet, because this is pretty easy piecing. Sometimes I just really feel like starching it a lot, and I do, but I try to stay consistent within one project, just so all my, kind of like, you know, you want to sew a project on the same machine throughout the whole thing because your 1/4 inch stays the same. Same process here in my head of the starching situation. So just a little and I just use, I know we get a lot of calls about what we use as the starch. I mean, I love the what's that, Best Press? That smells so good. That's a great starch to use too. You can also use like the little $1, $2 cans that you get at the grocery store from Amazon. Just simple, I think those cost like $2. All right, so we're just gonna press, and then we're gonna get ready to cut. And just a reminder, when we're cutting at this step, if it's not a perfect cut, don't worry, because we're gonna trim it down a lot. We gave you way more fabric than you need to work with on every block. And just finish off right here. There we go. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna fold my fabric in half lengthwise, meaning the long way, and I'm gonna fold it right sides together. So I want the outside of my fabric showing, right? So we're just gonna fold it. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. And it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Don't worry, you have more than enough fabric. I'm just gonna give it a little crease. All right, so now I'm gonna move my Steady Betty out of the way for a second because we're gonna cut. So what we're gonna do, remember we need to cut 1 at 10 and 2 at 6. So I'm gonna cut my 10 first. Doesn't matter which order you cut in. So here's my 10. There we go. And now we're gonna do 2 6s. So I'm just gonna line that up and see if this was like the piecing part of it, I'd be really careful. But I know we're gonna trim this down so I can be a little quick with it. I mean, you still wanna be accurate. Don't cut on 7 when you mean to cut on 6. But you know what I mean. 6 and then 6 and 6 is 12. So this little bit, trash. Or if you're like my mom, nothing is too small to throw away. Okay, so let's set this aside. Now there's 3 blocks that we're gonna make, right? We're gonna make block 3, block 9, and block 10. So we're gonna start with block 3, which is the tree that has the 3 little hearts on it. So I know that the first piece of fabric I need is the 6 by 14. So I'll set my other fabrics aside, get my Steady Betty back over, and let's just talk about what we're gonna do now. See, this is folded in half, right sides together, right? So you have the cute green grunge showing inside. We have it folded in half. So my fold is right here. I'm gonna take it one more time and fold it and press it. Then what I'm gonna do is, again, load that white thread onto the machine. And I'm gonna load the embroidery file for block 3. Again, that's the tree with 3 little hearts on it. And we're gonna do the first step, which is that T in the middle of our hoop, like you've seen in the previous months. So go on and do that, and we'll be back to put the fabric in place. So now your machine has stitched this nice T in the middle. So I'm gonna turn my hoop sideways, just so I can simply fit inside the shot for you. See, you can see it on the screen. We have our folded fabric. We have the folds here and here. And I'm gonna line those folds up right there. We're just gonna open it one time. And we're gonna open it again. And then if you wanna press before you tape, you certainly can. There we go. And we're gonna tape it in place. So just do a little tape. And what the machine is gonna do now is outline our first pieces. So let's just do a little tape there. All right, so again with the white thread, put this back on. As always, be careful when you're taking your hoop on and off the arm of your machine. You don't want to reposition it, because if you do or distort the contents of the frame, the rest of your pieces aren't going to fit. So be really careful every time you take that on and off. Okay, so what you have stitched now, you have your tree trunk and you have your tree. So again, I turn it sideways so you can see in the shot. What we want to make sure we do first is put down the tree trunk. Really important. So take this, and I am going to move my tape so I don't accidentally iron on it, because that does make your iron sticky and you don't want that. All right, so that's off. There we go. So we're gonna put our little brown tree trunk right inside where it goes. There we go. And we just press. Look at that, it's like the length of the iron. I hadn't noticed that before, that's fun. And then we're gonna put our tree on. You'll notice every month your trees are always the same fabric. We're keeping it easy for you so you don't accidentally get the wrong tree fabric on the wrong block. So that's why we're doing it in this order. We always try to think ahead and make everything as easy as possible. That's the goal, right? So with something big like this, you'll remember from the previous months, you just make sure it's lined up everywhere. And we're just gonna start at one part of the tree and work our way up, right? So tree branch, tree branch. So cute. All right. Looking good. And if you ever, a little trick when it's still hot, if you ever don't like the position it's in, you can just sort of hustle it a little bit if you need to. I'm gonna tap right there. I don't know if I ironed that part of the tree. There we go. Okay, so it's time to put this back on. Again, we're gonna keep the white thread for one more step, because this is the tree that has the 3 little hearts. So the machine is now gonna give us an outline of 1, 2, 3 hearts. So now you'll see those 3 outlines, and good news, all 3 hearts are exactly the same. So you don't have to think about which heart goes where. Just simply grab one of your cute hearts and press it in place. Super easy. I love when pieces are the same. All right, and then right here, right into place. And the very last little heart. This is so cute. I love all the trees with the decoration. Just really fun. There's one coming up with cupcakes, y'all. I mean, that's just adorable. I can't even. I love this quilt. Okay, so now it's time to start doing our color changes. So the very first color we're gonna do is the pink, the 1307. So the machine is gonna do a really cute buttonhole stitch around all 3 of those hearts. Take a look at these cute little hearts. Aren't they so cute? I love it. I do have a little thread I need to trim because, you know, I do hold my threads when I'm starting. And I'll tell you, during these thread changes, you don't need to take your hoop on and off. I'm only doing that so I can show you what is stitched and then talk about the thread colors that you're gonna put on next. So again, you can keep your hoop on for right now. So the next color we're gonna change to is that 1130, which is the fun brown, and we're gonna do that little buttonhole stitch around the tree trunk. Okay, so now the tree trunk is stitched. Look how good that looks. Let me come up here and show you. Lovely. Okay, so now we're going to do our final color change of this block 3, and that is to put on the green 1176, and the machine is gonna go around, around, and around our tree with the buttonhole stitch. All right, look at this adorable tree. So this is block 3. Let me come in close so you can see the stitching all the way down. How good does that look? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is take this out of the hoop and set it aside. We're now gonna work on block 9, which is another tree, but it's a tree that doesn't have any decor on it. It's one of the naked trees, but that happens in a forest, right? So you're going to re-hoop your stabilizer, and you're gonna put on the file for block 9. You're gonna load white thread, and you're gonna get to that step where you have the T, and then I'll show you how to put the fabric in place on that, okay? Okay, so just like you had with that other tree, you have a T right here in the center. So we're going to put this on top of our Steady Betty. We are going to take our remaining 6x14 piece of fabric. Remember, it's still folded in half right sides together from when we cut it. So I'm gonna take it and do one more turn, just like we did with the last tree. And I'm gonna give it a press, and we're gonna put it in place. There we go. So just line it up with your T. Open it up once, and then open it up a second time. Perfect. And again, we're gonna trim these all down at the very end. So now, if you wanna give it a little press before you iron, or a press before you iron, a press before you tape, you can do that. And I'm just gonna do a couple pieces of tape to hold it in place. So what our machine is gonna do, we're gonna keep that white thread on for one more step, and the machine is going to give us an outline of our tree trunk and our tree. All right, so let's put this back on and go on to the next step. Now take a look at what's in your hoop now. See your 2 outline pieces? So again, put this on your Steady Betty, and just like with the last tree, we're gonna make sure we put our tree trunk down first. So get that right into position. I do want to take my tape off so I don't accidentally iron on it and get my iron sticky. Cause I love my little Steamfast travel iron, and I get real upset with myself when I accidentally iron tape. I've done it before. I'm sure y'all seen it in a video where I've ironed tape. I try not to, but you know, I'm talking, filming, embroidering. Mistakes happen, right? Okay, and then we're gonna put our tree on. And I'm just gonna make sure I have it lined up everywhere. And then we will begin pressing from one end to the other. See, on a big piece, you just make sure it's lined up everywhere. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. There we go. All right. Super easy. Don't you love the pre-fused laser cut pieces? I do. Okay, so now it's time for our first color change away from white. So we are going to load the green. It's funny, on the last tree I put the brown first, now on this one I'm putting the green first. Go figure. So we're gonna load that 1176, and the machine is gonna do that nice buttonhole stitch around the green tree for us. Okay, take a look at that tree. So happy and stitched. And now it's time to do our final color change and the last step for this little tree for block 9, and that is to load the brown 1130, and the machine will do the buttonhole stitch around the tree trunk. And just like that, your block 9 is totally stitched. Doesn't that look cute? Let me show you the little tree trunk up close. Looking good. So now, just like before, we're gonna take this out of the hoop. We'll trim them at the end. We're gonna re-hoop the stabilizer in our hoop. We're gonna put the white thread on our machine. We're gonna load the embroidery file for the girl, which is block 10. And we're gonna do that first step, which is that T in the middle of our hoop. Okay, so just like with the trees, you have a T, but this is a larger T in your hoop. So we're going to sit this on our Steady Betty, and remember the 10 by 14 piece of fabric we have? It'll be the remaining piece of fabric left for you. It's folded in half, remember, right sides together. Now we're gonna fold it in half one more time. There we go. Give it a little press. And we're gonna line it up with our T. And depending on the shape of your hoop, you will have, like, see my fabrics kind of going over the hoop. That's just fine. Don't you worry about that at all. And we'll open it up, give it a little press. And then we're going to tape it in place. So we're gonna work with the white thread for the first several steps. So keep that white thread on your machine until I tell you otherwise. And so the machine right now is gonna give us the outline for, like, the legs and the shoes, one piece of her purse, and then one piece of that little butterfly up in the side. So we'll put this on and continue to the next step. Okay, so take a look. We have one piece of our little ladybug. We have a purse, legs, and shoes to put on. So let's put this on our Steady Betty and let's start putting our pieces on. So the first I'm gonna put down is the little black dotted piece of our butterfly. Just put it right in position. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Give it a little tap. Now we have two legs to put on. So you just make sure you have the right leg in the right spot. You'll be able to tell by the little angled lines at the bottom of the leg. And how cute are these stripes? So this stripe is called lipstick. How fun is that? I love the name of this. There we go. Now we have two shoes. I am gonna move my tape right here because I don't wanna iron that. There we go. So let's get these little shoes. She's a smart girl. She's not in heels, so she's comfortable. I like it. All right, so let's put both of them in place. I love building the little gnomes because as we start putting more and more pieces on every layer, she starts looking like a little girl, and I love it. Okay, and then we have the first layer of her purse. Look at that cute little purse. That's fun. She's styling. Kind of makes me think of the Queen of England because she always has a purse. I love it. There we go. Okay, so again, continue with that white thread. We're gonna put this back on. Now the machine is gonna give us the second piece of the purse. It's gonna give us the socks that she has on, or if you're, what Mom calls them, like the little fur of her shoes, and then the two wings of the ladybug. Okay, so now let's iron those pieces on. I'm gonna turn it sideways onto my Steady Betty. So let's do our little wings on our ladybug first. Just get them on the right side. There we go. And let's put this one in place. They almost touch, but not quite. If they touched, I would have made them one piece for you, but they're not quite. There we go. Now let's do, well, I'll do the top of the purse because then I'm going to talk to you. You remember on the past ones for the girl when it's white, it's double layered, and how we do that double layer is by putting two pieces stacked. So I'll show you in just one second. There we go. So you'll notice that you have 4 little pieces of the socks, right? So you have 2 that are the same and 2 that are the same. So what you're gonna do is take 2 that are the same and you're gonna layer the first piece. There we go. And the reason we double layer it is just so you don't see, like, see how you could see the black underneath that? When you do the double layer, that's less noticeable. There you go. Just make sure you get it right on top of itself. Boop. And we're going to do the same thing with this white right here. So put down one layer. Give it a little press. Press, press. And then one more little layer. Look at this little cutie. I think of these as like little socks. Remember like little girl socks with the little ruffles? Mom said they're actually furries. It's like little furry boot kind of things. So it can be however you want it. I guess she does live in a forest and fur makes more sense than lace, but. Okay, so now we're gonna put this back on, and it's now going to do several more applique outlines for us. It's gonna do a hand and an arm, then the belly, hand, arm, and face. Okay, so you can see we have all these outlines, and it's really important that we put everything in a specific order here because there's some pieces that overlap and underlap. So let's talk about that, okay? So if you look at your pattern cover, you can see that we're gonna put down her left hand, then her left arm, then we're gonna put her body, then we're gonna put her right hand, right arm, and then her face. You can also take a look at the numbers on the placement guide. We're gonna put them down in the order of that, okay? So let's set this aside. So again, we're doing the left side over first. We're basically working from left to right and then up. So, well, and it's turned sideways. So really from the camera view, bottom to up and over, whatever. So what we're gonna do is put one little hand in place. So cute. Look at her holding her purse. Then we're going to get our left arm and get that in place. There we go. Ooh, she's starting to look like a little girl. I love it. A little gnome girl. Now we're going to put her body on, which really I guess would be her dress, not her body. And you're just going to start lining it up everywhere. And then you want to be really pay attention to these little squiggles at the bottom and make sure you have those nicely lined up. There we go. I'm liking it. I'm going to press it. There we go. And again, with the big piece, I just kind of work my way from one side to the other. Now we're going to do her right little hand. There we go. And then we'll do her right arm. Oh my gosh, y'all, she's so cute. I love it. And I love the braids on the girls. Aren't they adorable with the little hair bows? There we go. And last but not least on this step, her face. There we go. I love it. And you just make sure it's nice and lined up. And of course you can't see that bottom line, but if you have all those other lines lined up, it's gonna line up, don't worry. There we go. Okay, so keep that white thread on, and what the machine is gonna do now, it's going to stitch her nose, it's gonna give us both braids and bows, and it's gonna give us the hat. So we'll be back to iron those on. Okay, so we have all these outlines, and again, let's talk about the order that we need to put our pieces down because there's some overlappage again, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put down hair, her little braid and her bow, braid, bow, then we're gonna do her nose, and then we'll do her hat last. And that's because you can see there's some layer action going on. So let's figure out which bow is which. There we go. Oh, first one I picked up. Good guess, huh? So we're gonna put that right in place all along. There we go. So cute. There we go. Now we're gonna get a bow. And you just figure out which way. The bow isn't symmetrical, so you do want to make sure one side's just a little bit bigger than the other. There we go. Now we'll do the right braid right here. How cute is that? I love her. I just love the gnomes. I don't know if y'all know that. The gnomes are just like, I mean, we have a lot of really cute stuff, right? These gnomes, I cannot wait to have this hanging at my house. Okay, and then this little bow right here. There we go. Ooh, hot on my fingers. There we go. And gently, boop. And now we're gonna do the nose. Look at her little nose. I guess it's not so little of a nose, but she's still cute. All right, and then the hat. I love it. And I think I said this, but this little color of the Swiss from Riley Blake is called lipstick, and it just makes me really happy. Super fun. So with a big piece, again, just make sure you have it in the right spot everywhere. And I just work my way over, especially like with this the squiggles. There we go. So all pressed on in place. So again, keep that white thread. The machine is now going to give us the outline for the leaf and the flower, and then we'll be back to do a color change. Okay, so we have 2 pieces to iron on. Again, we have some overlappage. Let's talk about that. We're gonna put our leaf down first, then we're gonna put, there's actually 2 white flowers that we're gonna layer just like we did down here on her shoes. So turn this sideways. And I'll tell you, a second ago, right before we went to this step, I said next is a color change. There's one more step after this before a color change. I spoke too soon. All right, so get your little green leaf in place. Look at her, so cute. And now we have 2 flowers. So you're just gonna turn it till it's the right direction. Is that it? That's looking like it's it. So put 1 layer down. And just like we did with her shoes, we'll put the next layer. Look at me having to spin it so much. That's hilarious. Okay, there we go. And just line it up right on top because it's the exact piece, just cut out twice for you. Ta-da! Okay, so now keep the white thread on, and the machine is gonna give us a little outline right here for this circle that goes in the center of the flower. Okay, so now we have this little circle outlined, and with magic of the camera, I've already ironed it on. So you're gonna iron this one little yellow circle right on your hat. So let's take a look at what your girl's gonna look like. She is so cute before she's even stitched. So we're gonna leave white on for one more step, and that's because we are going to, while we have the white, we're gonna stitch the little white parts on her shoes. Now you're probably wondering why we're not stitching the white on the flower. That's because we're actually gonna stitch it with yellow to kind of give it some contrast. So the white for one more step just down here. All right, let's take a look at the white stitching. How cute is that? It's funny, once it's stitched, it really just oomps it up. It really just makes the quilt. So now we're going to change our thread to the 1019, the peach. And I think I mentioned this earlier, the peach is gonna be not just her arms and her face and nose, it's also gonna do all this little coral right here. So really fun to get to have that contrast there. Okay, are you so ready for this cuteness? Have you had so much fun watching this stitch? Look at our little girl coming to life. Oh my gosh, I love it. And remember, that was all with that peach color to do all of it. Isn't that crazy how good it looks? It's awesome. So now we're gonna do a color change to black, and the machine is going to do the antennas and the little body of the ladybug. It's gonna do that cute little heart flight path of the ladybug. And then it's gonna do the 2 bows and the 2 shoes. Actually, it's gonna start with the shoes and go in reverse order of what I said. But it's gonna be just adorable. So you're gonna load that black 1005 thread, and let's get started. Okay, she's just getting cuter by the second. So now all of the black is stitched, and let me point out something. It did this like in one long string. So what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna do it probably after I have it all the way trimmed, just so I can sit there like on the couch and do it. But you're just gonna very lightly trim those little threads right there, see? And then you end up with a perfect dashed line. And you can see it's so easy to do with these Karen K Buckleys because they are sharp all the way to the tip. So probably the scissors that you have for your embroidery machine for cutting threads are sharp all the way to the tip too if you don't have these. So easy. I'm just gonna go on and trim them all real fast because I wanna see, we'll see once it becomes the dashed line. So stinking cute. I love it. So just snip, snip, snip. Okay, so I'll trim all that before I put it back on the machine, but I know you don't wanna watch me trim it all, but see, look how cute when it becomes a dashed line. Now we're gonna load the light aqua or light teal if you wanna call it that. It's 1045, and the machine is now going to do the cute little purse for us. Okay, take a look at her little purse. How cute is that? I love it. So I did want to give you something I did while the camera wasn't on. You know, I had some lint from where I trimmed all this. So I just took a piece of my tape and went bloop, 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 bloop. And that became my little lint roller because I don't have a lint roller back here. And see, look, that got all my lint from where I trimmed my thread. So fun little tip. Okay, so now that we've done the purse, our next color change is to the silver gray, which is 1218, and your machine is gonna stitch her cute little braids. And we're almost done, y'all. Only a few more color changes, and it's just so cute. I can't wait to see it. Okay, take a look. She's really looking cute, isn't she? Okay, now we're gonna put the green on, and really quickly, your machine, this is number 1176, your machine is gonna quickly do the little accent lines on the leaf and then do around the outside of the leaf. Okay, take a look at your leaf all stitched. How cute is that? Okay, now we're gonna put on 0567, the butterfly gold, and the machine's gonna do the very last part of the buttonhole stitching, which is around the outside of the white flower and then the inside yellow portion of the flower. And then after that, we just have one more thread change to give her her little mouth. All right, let's get to it. Okay, take a look at your flower. All stitched, looking good. So, like I just said, this is our final color change, and then we're all done with the box for stitching. And that is 1307 pink is what we're gonna load. And it's the final finishing touch on our little girl, her lipstick lips. Okay, your block 10, your sweet little girl, is completely stitched. Look how good. I love it. Okay, this is just such a fun quilt to do every month. I hope that you all love getting it as much as we love making it and sending it to you, because I am loving making it. Okay, so now I'm just going to review how we trim everything. Let me get my hoops out of the way. So now we're gonna trim all 3 blocks, right? We have 2 trees. So this is block 3, we have block 9, and we have block 10. So what you're gonna do, remember we have that T on the back. So we're gonna pull away our stabilizer, but as we do, we're just gonna gently trim that thread. So I'll show you. So see, I'm just pulling my stabilizer away. So see right here, we're coming up on that little piece of the T. So when that thread is there, you're gonna trim it. Be really careful not to cut your fabric, okay? So just keep on pulling your stabilizer out as we go around. Oh, they were to the T right here. So we're just gonna trim that thread. Again, don't cut your fabric. You would cry. I would cry. I'd be like, oh no. Although it would be fun to make again. I wouldn't really be upset about that. All right, let me get a little bit more here, and then we'll come up to this little part where there's a T right here. And you can give a little more attention to pulling out around right there. But see right here, we have this T, right? So we're gonna gently snip the thread right there. And then we're gonna gently snip that thread right there. Boop. Get this pulled up. And then right here through the heart, you're gonna wanna very carefully snip this thread. So I'm just gonna get my scissors right up to the edge, right there. Just don't cut your fabric, don't cut your pretty stitching. There we go. And it pulls right out. So you can give a little more detail to pulling out, you know, all the stabilizer. But take a look at our girl. Is she not the cutest? Okay, so now let me just give you a refresher. I'm not gonna actually trim it on the video this time because y'all have seen me do that now 3 times. So I think you got it by now, right? So just a reminder, you have your full size placement guides, right? And the outer line is your trim line. That inner line is your seam allowance. So you know what your final block is gonna look like once it's all sewn together. So the outer line is what you're gonna use to trim. So what I do, I like to simply trace my trim line. That's what I do personally. You can trim however you like. You can measure. So you just get them all lined up. See, so it's all lined up, and what I do is I use a friction pin, or you could use a Pigma pin, and you just line your ruler up on that outer line and you trace it. And so then once you've traced all 4 lines, you'll take your pattern out from underneath it and you'll trim it, just like you've done in all the past months. Then you're gonna safely store your blocks and start anticipating month 5 arriving for you, which is so cute. I can't even remember what month 5 is. Is it the fisherman? I don't remember. I just know it's super cute. So store these safely. A reminder, The buttons that are accents on your blocks do not come until your finishing kit, and that's because you don't want to sew buttons on right now, because when you go to quilt your quilt at the end, the buttons would be in the way. So a reminder, buttons come at the end, and this little guy is going to have cute little buttons on him. So fun. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial for the box 4 of the Gnome quilt, and if y'all have any questions at all, never hesitate to reach out. Mom and I are always happy to help. And happy stitching, stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you next month for the next box. Happy stitching!